Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 27 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. The flow of time in the Land of Origin was very slow, and the space was also very stable. When Luo Feng was pursuing Divine Monarch Huyang, burning divine power to wield his blade technique and tear through the shallowest layer of space. The Primal Chaos layer lay deep within the layers of space. To enter the Primal Chaos layer on one's own was a feat most Primal Chaos overlords found unattainable. The simplest method was to travel upstream through the Primal Chaos ruins to reach the Primal Chaos layer directly. Boom tilde tilde tilde. An endless surge of chaotic power stretched as far as the eye could see. As Luo Feng ascended upstream through the void rift, the space around him was initially narrow, but as he continued to fly upstream, it became more and more spacious until it was completely boundless. Luo Feng understood, this must be the Primal Chaos layer. Such a dense concentration of chaotic power spread everywhere. Looking around, Luo Feng felt as if the Primal Chaos layer was like an infinite ocean with chaotic power acting as the seawater, and he was a fisherman venturing out into the sea for the first time. The leaf of the void proliferation mother tree is indeed miraculous. Luo Feng glanced at the leaf he carried with him, which constantly emitted an invisible force of void fluctuations, naturally enveloping Luo Feng within its scope. Within this range, the Primal Chaos layer did not reject Luo Feng at all. This leaf, carried with me, will completely wither in about an epoch, which is plenty of time. Luo Feng was quite satisfied as he observed the Primal Chaos layer with the curiosity of a child. Chaotic power surged endlessly, with various manifestations of the Primal Chaos laws materializing throughout the layer, adding to its splendid brilliance. These randomly manifesting Primal Chaos laws are all distinct, Luo Feng noted. The dazzling and bright Primal Chaos laws emitting golden light, the icy, pale green Primal Chaos laws, even the silver-white Primal Chaos laws. As the manifestations of the Primal Chaos laws slightly vary, their outer appearances differ. Chaos possesses infinite possibilities. A slight transformation could result in various manifestations like Primal Chaos Gold, Primal Chaos Fire, Primal Chaos Thunder, and more. Once one masters the Primal Chaos laws, one can proceed towards any origin great Tao. The essence is singular, the manifestations myriad, Luo Feng thought. Countless cultivators, regardless of the system they practice or the techniques they realize, are ultimately converging towards the Primal Chaos laws. Luo Feng flew slowly around, observing the randomly materializing Primal Chaos laws and trying to comprehend them deeply. Each manifestation brought Luo Feng different insights. Just as Luo Feng was intently comprehending, suddenly, a fiery red streak of light emerged from the Primal Chaos current and charged straight towards Luo Feng. Huh! Luo Feng was startled, and in an instant ignited his divine power and reached out to grab it, capturing the fiery red streak of light. The fiery red streak of light struggled and twisted in Luo Feng's palm. Yet under Luo Feng's burning divine power, the force unleashed by his perfect divine body was enough to surpass those newly advanced cultivators within the bloodline cultivation system of the Primal Chaos realm. Of course, if the Primal Chaos realm cultivators had cultivated for extended years and enhanced themselves in all aspects, their power would be incomparable to Luo Feng's. At that moment, simply catching a small creature, Luo Feng found it quite effortless. What is this? Luo Feng looked at his palm, where he was holding a fiery red bug with a shell that looked like red glazed crystal. It seemed very small, but its struggling force was strong, comparable to the Vice President Limo of the Blood Python Association. Is this a Primal Chaos layer creature? Luo Feng was already aware from the intelligence he had received that the Primal Chaos layer, with its endless chaotic power, naturally gave birth to some unique creatures. These creatures had extremely low intelligence, purely acting on instinct, and were incapable of communicating. As recorded in the information from my master, the creatures of the Primal Chaos layer feed on chaotic power, acting purely on instinct. Their bodies contain varying degrees of Primal Chaos laws. Due to their low intelligence, their strength generally rests at the eternal realm level. It's incredibly rare for any to reach the Primal Chaos realm, and those that do typically have very unique body structures and have long been captured alive by the major powers of the Land of Origin, Luo Feng looked at the fiery red bug in his palm and thought. It said that if it can't consume chaotic power, it will starve to death and its body will completely disintegrate, returning to the cosmos. Starve to death. In the land of origin, even the weakest cultivators could absorb the energy of heaven and earth, making it impossible to starve to death. But these primal chaos layer creatures, whose strength ranged from the eternal realm to primal chaos realm, had to feed on chaotic power or they would starve, their bodies disintegrating and returning to the cosmos. Throughout the entire primal chaos layer, it's impossible to find primal chaos layer creatures with primal chaos realm strength because they are too precious and have been captured long ago. Luo Feng looked around. For him, the primal chaos layer was fascinating. Yet, for the topmost beings of the land of origin, sweeping through the primal chaos layer was a simple task, which is why they would allow their younger disciples to come here to cultivate without worrying about encountering danger. The eternal true gods who could come to the primal chaos layer were elites cultivated by major forces, with deep accumulations in all aspects, managing to realize at least a few primal chaos realm techniques as a base, and their strength generally reaching the levels of General Yong and Divine Monarch Huyang. For them, the primal chaos layer creatures with primal chaos realm strength being captured meant that the rest, though stronger than them, posed no threat to their safety with their instinct-driven actions. Snap! With a slight exertion of force, Luo Feng crushed the continuously struggling bug within his palm. The body shattered into dozens of pieces, each one still struggling to merge back together. Such tenacity in life, Luo Feng noted as he observed, divine power infiltrating the broken parts. He could sense traces of primal chaos laws. Within the primal chaos layer, primal chaos laws might materialize substantively at any moment, each occurrence differing from the last. Perhaps at some moment, it would form a small creature. These primal chaos layer creatures could be considered solid manifestations of primal chaos laws, Luo Feng mused. Huyang City, city owner's mansion. The many eternal true gods from the 5 great families gathered to see Her Royal Highness Yushui Jianyu off. Your Highness, Luo, he followed the primal chaos ruins into the primal chaos layer and has not returned yet, the Lord of Huyang City said softly. Previously, Yushui Jianyu had said she would set off the next day, which was actually giving Luo Feng an opportunity. Before her departure, Luo Feng could still find the princess. But once she returned to the royal capital and reported to her father, if Luo Feng wanted to turn back and ask to become her disciple again, it would be too late. Given the status of the monarch of Yu country, would he offer a second chance after being refused once? Yushui Jianyu gently shook her head. It seems that he truly has no intention of becoming a disciple. With such strength, he must already have a formidable legacy, perhaps being a disciple cultivated by a major power. The Lord of Huyang City nodded in agreement. In the land of origin, it was common to have multiple teachers. When weak, one might be apprenticed to an eternal true god, and once strong, to a figure of the primal chaos realm or even a godly king. This was all very normal. Luo Feng's refusal to take the monarch of Yu country as his master naturally led to many speculations among them. Let's go, there's no need to see me off any further, Yushui Jianyu said with a wave of her hand. A massive boat appeared in the sky, and she immediately led her subordinates to fly towards it. This group of subordinates also included the Black Butcher and his disciples. The Black Butcher brought a total of 9 disciples and some family servants this time. After all, in the future while following Her Royal Highness the Princess, it was not possible to prepare every meal personally. For common guests, it would suffice for the disciples to cook. The 9 disciples were all ones the Black Butcher trusted and liked, among them was Suozi. I never thought I would be going to the royal capital. Suozi still felt a surge of emotions and could hardly calm down even now. The previous night, his master had suddenly returned and immediately convened his 9 most valued disciples, asking them if they were willing to go to the royal capital together, mentioning that it was in the company of Her Royal Highness the Princess. The 9 disciples were somewhat stunned, but without any hesitation, they all chose to go to the royal capital. Following Her Royal Highness the Princess? How could they possibly miss out on this? Brother Suozi. In the distance, there was also Suoyun who came to see him off. Ever since the Black Butcher became an eternal true god, Suoyun treated Suozi much more warmly, and now he was tearfully saying goodbye to his brother. Suozi flew towards the flying boat and saw Suoyun below, sending him off, and he nodded slightly. No matter what barriers lay between them, in the end, they had grown up together in the tribe. Now they were completely parting ways, and it was likely they would find it difficult to see each other in this life. Suozi, we are going to the royal capital. I never imagined that I, a true god from the lower echelons of Huyang city who learned culinary arts from the master, would first become a true god of void space, and now I'm on my way to the royal capital. The other disciples of the Black Butcher were also incredibly excited. 2 of these disciples brought their families, and Her Royal Highness the Princess had already granted the Black Butcher a cave mansion, making it quite easy to accommodate some family servants. Whoosh! Accompanied by the massive flying boat traversing time and space, it completely disappeared from the skies above Huyang city, and the crowd that had come to say farewell began to disperse. Suoyun silently watched this scene, with the departing group. I did everything possible, even risking my life to seize every chance, and am still only a mid-level figure in Huyang city's Dark Force 1000 Mountain Tower. Yet Suozi just followed the Black Butcher in learning culinary arts, and now he's going to the royal capital, and can follow Her Royal Highness the Princess. Suoyun couldn't understand why there was such a vast difference in their destinies. Is it really just fate? Within the primal chaos layer. Days passed, and Luo Feng wholeheartedly studied the manifestation of various primal chaos laws, also encountering numerous attacks from primal chaos layer creatures. Despite only retaining their primal instincts, each one of these creatures was extremely aggressive. Luo Feng also captured many primal chaos layer creatures, and even dissected their bodies to examine them closely. But as soon as he let go, the bodies of these creatures would merge and flee in terror. Clearly, their instincts also knew fear. On this day, Luo Feng was as usual attentively observing the manifestation of primal chaos laws, contemplating and pondering. Suddenly, a streak of silver light emerged from the primal chaos current and shot past Luo Feng like a flash of silver blade light. Luo Feng, as usual, burned divine power and reached out to grab. His seemingly simple action was infused with profound meanings, and the clumsy streak of silver light could not avoid it and was directly caught by Luo Feng. Luo Feng only felt a pain in his right palm, and the streak of silver light had already darted out to a distance and stopped. Luo Feng looked at his palm in surprise. His palm had actually been cut open, revealing a bloody wound. Both the skin and muscle layers were partly sliced through, with blood flowing freely. It can actually injure me? Its strength is not inferior to Shuiyun's, I suppose, Luo Feng said, somewhat astonished. Luo Feng gazed at the silver light hovering in the distance, which was, at the moment, restlessly observing him. This primal chaos layer creature, being of low intelligence, is less cunning than Shuiyun in tactics. However, in terms of pure power, it surpasses it by a notch. Luo Feng, thrilled by the hunt, had initially dominated Shuiyun, and now, having realized a primal chaos realm technique, his strength had increased once again. Whoosh! Suddenly, the silver light flashed, tracing an arc that instantly extended over tenfold, like a spectral silver thread that swept past Luo Feng. Luo Feng, seeing the thread sweep by his body, reached out to grasp it again. Though Luo Feng's grasp might have seemed ordinary, the ghostly elusive silver thread could not escape and was once again caught by him. At the instant he caught it, Luo Feng felt the silver thread in the palm of his hand was too slippery. Unbelievably sharp and smooth. It slipped out of his palm instantly, leaving behind a deep wound on Luo Feng. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The silver light around Luo Feng flickered repeatedly, sometimes as silver threads, sometimes as blade lights, sometimes as silver spikes, all incredibly fast. Luo Feng struggled to catch it, but ended up with several bloody wounds. Interesting. Luo Feng smiled as he watched it. Without showing some skill, it seems I can't capture it. Whoosh! The silver light aimed for another attack on Luo Feng. This time, Luo Feng also extended his hand, but his 5 fingers, like massive pillars of heaven, covered a corner of the void space and instantly enveloped the silver light. The light appeared to be trapped in a cage with no gaps to escape through. It was a move Luo Feng had newly mastered called 5 Directions Heavenly Seal. Having contemplated the life origin and destruction origin, plus his understanding gained in the Primal Chaos layer. Besides that one Primal Chaos realm technique, Luo Feng had also realized several standalone techniques, each more powerful than the first 6 strikes of the world-breaking 9 blades. This technique, 5 Directions Heavenly Seal, carried a portion of the essence of a Heaven Split in 5 Directions blade, merged with Luo Feng's understanding of the law of Primal Chaos. If Heaven Split in 5 Directions blade intended to split heavens, shredding everything to pieces. Conversely, 5 Directions Heavenly Seal employed the essence of the 5 Directions to seal heaven and earth, used to trap enemies. The casual grasp earlier could not catch the silver blade light. Now, deploying the 5 Directions Heavenly Seal, he had completely trapped the silver light. As his 5 fingers clenched, they naturally entwined around the silver light. Buzzing the silver light, long and struggling, attempted to escape. However, being entangled between Luo Feng's 5 fingers, it couldn't break free. I really want to see what this little creature's body is made of, so small yet so powerful. Luo Feng deployed the Duan Mie Dharma, instantly burning his divine power to the limit. Split. Luo Feng's power burst forth, his 5 fingers exerting a sudden force, far stronger than before, attempting to tear open the body of the silver light creature. This exertion left Luo Feng utterly astonished. He felt the silver light creature was incredibly tough, impossible to tear apart. Even with my divine power burned to its limits, I can't tear its body. Luo Feng was surprised. Luckily I've realized a Primal Chaos realm move, or else I'd really be at a loss with it. This Primal Chaos layer creature, having only instinct, without even a consciousness, made Luo Feng's secret technique of willpower useless. With one hand holding the silver light creature, the index finger of Luo Feng's other hand burned with divine power. He deployed the only Primal Chaos realm technique he mastered, heart honing. His finger gently swooped like dissecting the void, crossing over the tip of the silver light creature's body. Crack! The body of the silver light creature immediately fractured, splitting in 2. As Luo Feng's finger crossed, he could feel the toughness of the silver light body. After it fractured, the toughness of the silver light body dramatically decreased, and its luster dimmed considerably. Luo Feng grabbed each half of the silver light body with his left and right hands, exerting a sudden force. Bang! Bang! The 2 halves of the silver light body completely shattered, turning into a cluster of silver droplets. 109 silver droplets. Luo Feng carefully examined the silver droplets in front of him. They tried to merge back together, but once split into basic silver droplets, each one's force became very weak. Luo Feng's divine power enveloped them, preventing them from merging. These silver droplets. Luo Feng scrutinized them. In his eyes, each silver droplet magnified 1 billion times, resembling a colossal star. Magnified billions of times, the silver droplet maintained a perfect spherical shape with an immensely smooth surface. On its surface, traces of Primal Chaos law could be vaguely seen, and these traces also permeated inside the silver droplets. Luo Feng's finger swept across a silver droplet, which instantly disintegrated into silver mist, and the substance of the Primal Chaos laws became visibly materialized. Luo Feng peered intently. As the silver mist dissipated, the materialized Primal Chaos laws also dispersed. This droplet of silver water was completely annihilated. No wonder it's so slippery. Luo Feng observed, each silver droplet actually contains a complete law of Primal Chaos, incorporating features of Primal Chaos Gold and water of Primal Chaos. Of all the Primal Chaos layer creatures I've observed and studied, the previous ones only contained partial Primal Chaos laws. However, this silver light creature possesses a complete Primal Chaos law, Luo Feng realized. Containing partial Primal Chaos laws versus a complete Primal Chaos law, there was obviously a huge difference in strength. Collect. With a thought, Luo Feng gathered the remaining 108 silver droplets into the Star Tower. One of the space layers within the Star Tower spontaneously filled with these 108 silver droplets, naturally separated by the space. Luo Feng brought 2 of the silver droplets closer, and they naturally merged. Each droplet merged, and upon merging 10 droplets, they could form a silver thread, already quite potent. Once 100 droplets merged, they formed that streak of silver light. Even when combined entirely, the silver-like creature's prowess did not increase significantly. The more silver droplets there are, the stronger its power, but clearly a certain threshold must be reached for a qualitative change to occur. Luo Feng thought to himself, this is merely just over 100 droplets. What if it were 10,000, or 1,000,000? That would probably amount to primal chaos realm strength. Luo Feng closely observed this streak of silver light that was kept within the star tower. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The silver light swiftly moved through this level of the star tower space, yet it couldn't escape at all. I heard that primal chaos layer creatures feed on chaotic power, Luo Feng thought, tossing several primal chaos crystals toward the silver light creature. The silver light quickly flew to the primal chaos crystals, coiling around them and began to slowly gnaw. The strength of a primal chaos layer creature is related to the primal chaos laws within its body, Luo Feng thought regretfully. It's a pity that I cannot see those creatures who possess primal chaos realm strength. According to the intelligence, all the primal chaos layer creatures with the strength of a primal chaos overlord had been captured and taken away. They were all very attractive to the godly kings. These rare and very powerful primal chaos layer creatures could rather be captured and kept over a long period, Luo Feng thought, gleaning some special applications of the primal chaos laws from them. His hometown, Luo Feng's microcosm. Beneath a large tree, its canopy covered a vast area. Primordial ancestor, it is rare for you to visit me. Luo Feng personally poured fruit wine for the primordial ancestor. Try this. I collected various fruits within the microcosm and tried several wine-making experiments. The taste is quite good. The primordial ancestor picked up the wine glass and tasted a sip, appreciating it. The flavor is delightful. I didn't expect you to be a wine-making expert, Luo Feng. Just a small hobby. Luo Feng also picked up his glass and tasted. I came this time also to thank you, the primordial ancestor said pensively. Fortunately, with the 9 netherworlds inheritance you gave, having cultivated in the land of origin until now, I have finally broken through to the eternal true God realm. Broken through. Luo Feng was thrilled, feeling happier as the human race grew stronger. After all, the land of origin was fraught with dangers. If one day he fell, it would still be the primordial ancestor protecting the human race. The land of origin clarifies the understanding of laws so much clearer, and with the inheritance, I achieved breakthrough today, the primordial ancestor said with a smile. The law lineage is indeed challenging. After this breakthrough, my days in the land of origin will be much better. Luo Feng nodded. It has been a well-deserved reward after a long ordeal. In the land of origin, the life between a true god of void space and an eternal true god was starkly different. Primordial ancestor, has your microcosm not expanded? Luo Feng asked. No rush, only you know that I have divined the source of law. Neither my microcosm nor godly body is in a rush to break through. The primordial ancestor looked at Luo Feng. Once my godly body breaks through, I will no longer be able to hide my strength and will need to face some choices. I am hesitating whether to join the official ranks of Flame Wind Ancient Country or to remain a solitary cultivator. The official ranks, Luo Feng said. Flame Wind Ancient Country has an unfathomable foundation. It is more suitable for you to join there. Although a solitary cultivator enjoys more freedom, it is also much more dangerous. Moreover, in the future, I should also go to the Flame Wind Ancient Country. You are also going to the Flame Wind Ancient Country, the primordial ancestor showed delight. It will still take a considerable amount of time, Luo Feng explained. Both he and Museum Master Emperor Chu Yu needed to reach the primal chaos realm, only then Emperor Chu Yu would recruit him. Currently, both were still at the eternal true god level. It would also take him a long time to reach the primal chaos realm, not to mention Emperor Chu Yu. I will follow your advice and join the official ranks. The primordial ancestor no longer hesitated. He knew very well that Luo Feng had received the inheritance of Duandong River lineage, making him more understanding of the top powers of the land of origin than he was. Moreover, during his days in the land of origin, the primordial ancestor had seen that new eternal true god still had to live cautiously. Joining the official ranks would greatly increase his safety with the official layer of protection. This is the latter half of the 9 netherworlds, containing many secret techniques for the eternal true god level. Luo Feng handed a memory stone to the primordial ancestor. You don't need to practice illusions just for me. the primordial ancestor immediately said, worried it might affect Luo Feng's cultivation path. I practice various dharma, all as a foundation for reaching the primal chaos realm. Luo Feng smiled. Thank you. The primordial ancestor then took the memory stone and received the information from the latter half of the 9 netherworlds. Receiving this inheritance, the primordial ancestor grew even more aware of the gap between himself and Luo Feng. He had just become an eternal true god. Whereas one of the illusions Luo Feng practiced was already at the pinnacle of the eternal true god level. His actual strength, however, was likely even more formidable and terrifying. Then now, I will go and break through completely. The primordial ancestor stood up. Luo Feng also stood up to see him off. In the days that followed, Huyang City experienced a rare calm. The Heart Shadow sect was also gathering some sect elites previously dispersed across various regions of the land of origin, after all, aiming to attack a primal chaos prefecture, the more powerful the better. If they could form an overwhelming momentum, it would be most ideal. Only, some sect elites were too far from Shi Kingdom. Even with Marquis Liu Yin's help, it wasn't a short journey to return. Additionally, persuading some sect elites to join the battle was a notably difficult task. Luo Feng, meanwhile, was immersed in cultivation. Life Origin, Destruction of the Origin, Primal Chaos Layer Cultivation, 3000 Void Calamity Beast Diagram. Luo Feng felt himself making slow progress every day. Time passed, unbeknownst to him, 5 eras had elapsed. Huyang City, Dream Flower Tower. Luo Feng arrived here with his 2 servants, Morosa and Moyu Qingyang. Lord Luohe has come. It's Lord Luohe. The entire Dream Flower Tower was abuzz, whether it was other patrons of the tower or the internal members, all attention was on Lord Luohe. After all, the battle 5 eras prior had proven his terrifying strength, invincible below the primal chaos realm, with the lives of Divine Monarch Shuiyun, Yu Qianshu, Yu Qianyi. Dream Flower has seen the Divine Monarch. Dream Flower Tower Master approached with the young musician, Araya, and greeted Luo Feng with a radiant smile. Divine Monarch, the usual place. The usual place, Luo Feng smiled in reply. Please, Dream Flower Tower Master led the way. Soon, they arrived at the Orchid Star Hall. Nowadays, the Orchid Star Hall was exclusively for Lord Luohe's use, and any other distinguished guests could only visit other halls. Ever since Black Butcher took his apprentices and followed Her Royal Highness Princess Yushui Qianyu to the royal capital, Luo Feng, even when enjoying fine food, generally came to the Dream Flower Tower. He seldom went anywhere else. Divine Monarch, please, the Dream Flower Tower Master personally poured him wine and accompanied him at his side. You flatter me, Tower Master. Have you composed any new pieces lately? Luo Feng asked with a smile. Knowing that the Divine Monarch enjoys listening to music, I have indeed composed more than a dozen new pieces, the Dream Flower Tower Master replied. Then I must have a good listen later. Luo Feng was quite polite towards Dream Flower Tower Master. On one hand, because of his good friend Shang Qianyan's relationship with the Tower Master, he felt he should show some consideration. On the other hand, ever since his spiritual will had broken through to the Godly King level, within Huyang City, even when using the 7 emotions of heart refining technique, only the Tower Master's music could immerse him fully. Araya, begin your performance, the Tower Master nodded towards her. Luo Feng watched with appreciation. The young musician, Araya, concentrated on playing the music. Her illusion technique had become much stronger over the past 30-some eras, but since Luo Feng's will had reached the Godly King level, Araya's illusion technique had a much weaker effect on him, serving merely as a simple entertainment while he ate and drank. Araya's illusion technique has become even more impressive, Luo Feng complimented after Araya had finished playing. Thank you, Divine Monarch, Araya respectfully bowed, though she felt a bit dejected inside. She could see that once, Lord Luohe would immerse himself completely in her illusion technique, even to the point of being moved to tears. But now? He only listened with a smile. My skills are still too weak, it has become very difficult to please the Divine Monarch. Araya too had worked hard, but her illusion technique had already peaked at the pinnacle of the true god of void space, and she saw no hope of reaching the eternal true god realm. Araya stepped aside to retreat. The Dream Flower Tower Master sat there, surrounded by floating petals, with snowflakes naturally forming around her. Music spontaneously arose, with the natural world as her instrument. Her illusion technique carried a magical enchantment. The power of an illusion technique from an eternal true God was immense. Luo Feng willingly applied the 7 emotions of heart refining technique to enhance the magic of the music immeasurably so that he could be absorbed into it. As the most important guest of the Dream Flower Tower, the Tower Master knew well Luo Feng's preferences. The pieces she composed were all capable of evoking deep emotional responses within Luo Feng. Just a few pieces of music and the master enjoys them that much. Morosa, not far away, ate and drank heartily, mumbling to himself. After more than a dozen pieces had concluded, Luo Feng's emotions slowly calmed down. "Good, Tower Master, these new pieces are very nice," complimented Luo Feng. "Thank you for your compliment, Divine Monarch." The Dream Flower Tower Master had been quite nervous after the deaths of Shang Qianyang and Shui Yun, but then she discovered that Lord Luo He started to enjoy her illusion technique. This thrilled her. She even began to speculate, in the past, Lord Luo He enjoyed Araya's illusion technique, and he ignored me for over 20 eras. Shortly after the death of Shang Qianyang and Shui Yun, however, he began to like my music. Could he be pretending, just like Shang Qianyang and Shui Yun were? The pretense of Shang Qianyang and Shui Yun shattered all confidence of the Dream Flower Tower Master. What power does Lord Luo He have? Invincible below the primal chaos realm, would he really be captivated by her illusion? She lacked confidence. Lord Luo He is compassionate and loyal. Perhaps it's because of his brotherly bond with Shang Qianyang that he keeps coming to the Dream Flower Tower. The Dream Flower Tower Master theorized, no matter, as long as the outside world believes that Lord Luo He really enjoys my illusion technique, that's enough. The Dream Flower Tower Master was also very grateful to Lord Luo He. For this reason, she used every means possible to regularly compose new pieces for Lord Luo He. The contemplation of the 3000 Void Calamity Beast diagram exhausts the spiritual will. Listening to the illusion technique with the 7 emotions of heart refining technique allows me to completely relax and cleanses my spirit, washing away all exhaustion. Luo Feng still highly valued the Dream Flower Tower Master. Long periods of cultivation can lead to weariness and numbness. 7 emotions of heart refining bring back the touch of one's own heart. I have completely mastered the full catastrophe beast diagram, Luo Feng thought silently, yet every contemplation still brings me new insights. These 5 eras were a period of rapid progress for Luo Feng. Often facing the great Tao of life origin, with Morosa having reached the primal chaos realm and often displaying the destruction of the origin, Luo Feng's long-term contemplation and deep accumulation naturally far surpassed that of 5 eras ago. He had long ago mastered the catastrophe beast diagram. Now he was revisiting it over and over. He also occasionally visited the primal chaos layer, capturing more than a dozen creatures imbued with complete primal chaos laws, such as the silver-like creature. As his strength increased, capturing these creatures became easier. Without these opportunities, even 500 eras of cultivation wouldn't compare to these 5, Luo Feng mused. The assistance of several major fortuitous encounters was indeed significant. Just the great Tao of life origin alone had allowed him to make rapid progress. As for realm accumulation, I am still above Shui Yun, he thought. Yet, I still have not deciphered the primal chaos laws. Luo Feng frowned. The law lineage is indeed more difficult than the bloodline lineage. Shui Yun, with his accumulation, transformed to the primal chaos realm in life and death struggles. Whereas to comprehend the primal chaos laws, he indeed required a much deeper accumulation of knowledge. The city of Huyang was at its most bustling and prosperous during the daytime, with dense crowds of cultivators entering the city from various gates. A flying boat was soaring through the skies above Huyang City. Inside the flying boat, there stood 19 figures, led by a man with 3 eyes. The 3-eyed man, donned in a grey robe, looked through the walls of the flying boat at the vast Huyang City and smiled. This is Huyang City, where the foundation of our Heart Shadow sect will be established for many years to come. Our Heart Shadow sect will finally have its foundation, said the other 18 figures with mixed emotions. Most of them had once left the Heart Shadow sect and taken root elsewhere. However, this time the Heart Shadow sect was determined to firmly establish its foundation. At the call of the sect, and with the support of 2 primal chaos overlords in the shadows, these elite members of the sect had come one after another, forming what was now the 18 elders of the Heart Shadow sect. The 18 elders, each one of them formidable, and some even surpassing the sect leader in strength. The Heart Shadow sect had undergone several declines and was already divided from within. Although the return of some sect elites from the land of origin strengthened the overall power, it also intensified the internal fragmentation. But, when it came to claiming their foundational territory, they were united. Even the 2 covert primal chaos overlords demanded they seize the foundational territory. Once the 2 primal chaos overlords achieved a breakthrough and no longer feared powerful enemies, they too would return to the sect. No one in the entire Zhejiang primal chaos prefecture can stop us, the three-eyed man declared with confidence. Even if the Marquis of Zhejiang himself appears, Marquis Liu Yin will personally deal with him. All we need to do is sweep away all the eternal true gods. Even in its current weakened state, our Heart Shadow sect can easily sweep away the eternal true gods of a primal chaos prefecture, a figure formed of flowing water said leisurely. I've heard that the most formidable in Huyang City is Lord Luohe, said a blind figure. I wish to personally test his strength. Elder Heartai, Lord Luohe is extremely strong, and I'm afraid only you have the power to fight him, another elder replied. Without Elder Heartai, we would likely rely on formations to confront Lord Luohe, the rest of the elders chimed in. There was a hint of fear towards Elder Heartai among them. When the Heart Shadow sect was whole, he was the most powerful. After the sect's decline and split, he left to traverse various parts of the land of origin, honing himself. It took extensive efforts by Marquis Liu Yin to personally coax him back this time. My friends. The three-eyed man swept his gaze over the 18 elders. Let Huyang City fear the name of our Heart Shadow sect. Yes. Ha ha. The 18 elders were all filled with fighting spirit, and under their command were countless eternal true gods of void space, and true god disciples. Hum tilde 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 tilde. The flying boat suddenly grew immensely larger, and at the same time, around it materialized numerous other massive flying boats. In the blink of an eye, more than 1,000 large flying boats appeared, suspended high above Huyang City. This scene caught the attention of many cultivators within Huyang City and also drew the notice of the city's officials. Boom! 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 One after another, super-large Legion treasures appeared out of nowhere. Ha ha ha! We've waited far too long, and finally, today has come. They took various forms: colossal humanoid creatures, immense exotic beasts, strange lakes, super-large plants, a giant golden eye, and a hunched creature carrying a sword. 139 super-large Legion treasures appeared all at once. Each of these Legion treasures of the Heart Shadow sect was operated by at least 10 eternal true gods and tens of thousands of true gods of void space. There were no mere true gods. Unlike the Huyang Legion, which typically had only one eternal true god, tens of thousands of true gods of void space, and millions of true gods in operation, the Heart Shadow sect didn't need any true gods and instead boasted more eternal true gods, making it even more formidable. Inside the thousands of large flying boats, there were also a vast number of disciples. After all, they were once a large sect that boasted 3 primal chaos overlords. Having called scattered disciples from all around after 5 eras, they now possessed nearly 40% of their former strength. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Huyang guard arriving through the void looked at the 139 large Legion treasures with awe and fear, as well as the enormous flying boats, each exuding a terrifying aura. What is your purpose in coming to Huyang City? A leader of Huyang guard asked nervously. This episode is end here.